October 31st, 2019, Ravens Peak, Massachusetts. The air was crisp and cool, carrying the scent of damp leaves and wood smoke as the sun set over Ravens Peak. The sky was a deep shade of indigo, with veins of crimson and orange bleeding through the clouds, like a jack-o'-lantern's glow. It was Halloween night, and the small town was alive with the whispers of the season. On Elm Street, a group of friends, all in their early 20s, gathered in front of the old Victorian mansion, adorned with cobwebs and flickering candles. The house, rumored to be built on an ancient Native American burial ground, was said to be haunted by the restless spirits of the dead. Jess, a petite brunette with a mop of curly hair, clutched a fluttering map, her eyes darting between the intricate illustrations and the eerie facade. According to local legend, this house is the epicenter of paranormal activity on Halloween night, she whispered, her voice trembling with excitement. Her friends, Alex, a lanky blonde, and Emily, a quiet, reserved redhead, exchanged skeptical glances. They had grown up in Ravens Peak, and the tales of ghostly encounters were as much a part of their lives as the changing seasons. As they approached the entrance, a chill ran down their spines. The massive wooden door creaked, as if pushed by an unseen hand. Jess hesitated, her feet rooted to the spot, but Alex prodded her forward, his eyes gleaming with mischief. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of decay and rot. Cobwebs clung to the chandeliers, and the walls seemed to absorb the faint light of their flashlights. They explored the dusty rooms, their footsteps echoing through the deserted halls. In the attic, they stumbled upon an old, leather-bound book, adorned with strange symbols and macabre illustrations. Emily, an avid reader of occult literature, recognized the tome as a rare, centuries-old grimoire. As she delicately turned the yellowed pages, the words began to shift, rearranging themselves before their eyes. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the shadows seemed to coalesce into dark, sentient forms. The trio exchanged nervous glances, their hearts pounding in unison. It was then that they heard the whispers, faint, raspy voices that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. The words were indistinguishable, but the malevolent intent was palpable. Jess's eyes went wide, her grip on the map tightening, as she realized they had unleashed something sinister. Alex's smile faltered, and Emily's eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape route. As they turned to flee, the door slammed shut behind them, the sound echoing through the attic like a death knell. They were trapped. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, as the darkness closed in around them. It was then that they saw it, a figure, tall and imposing, emerging from the shadows. Its face was deathly pale, with eyes that burned like embers from a long-dead fire. The friends froze, paralyzed with fear, as the figure began to speak in a voice that was both ancient and eternal. "You should not have come here," it hissed, the words dripping with malevolence. "Now, you will join the others, trapped in this realm, forevermore." As the darkness consumed them, the people of Ravens Peak, gathered outside, heard a chilling scream, piercing the night air, a scream that seemed to come from the very heart of the haunted mansion. And when the police found the trio, they were gone, vanished into the night, leaving behind only the cryptic map with an added inscription: "The veil between worlds is thin on All Hallows Eve." It was a chilly autumn evening in the small town of Ravenswood, where the leaves crunched beneath every step and the wind whispered eerie tales in the ears of its residents. Halloween had finally arrived, and the streets were alive with the sound of children's laughter and the rustling of costumes. But amidst the revelry, a sense of unease settled over the town like a shroud. It started with small things: a missing decoration here, a misplaced treat there. At first, no one thought much of it, chalking it up to the usual Halloween hijinks. But as the night wore on, the occurrences grew more frequent and more bizarre. Residents reported finding strange symbols etched into their pumpkins, symbols that seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. Others claimed to have seen shadowy figures darting around the edges of their vision, always just out of reach. The local sheriff, a stout man named Jenkins, was inundated with calls about strange noises and unexplained movements in the dead of night. As the moon climbed high in the sky, the townspeople began to gather in small clusters, exchanging nervous whispers and frightened glances. It was as if they collectively sensed that something was amiss, something that lurked just beneath the surface of their reality. One group of brave souls, a cluster of teenagers, decided to investigate the strange happenings for themselves. They gathered flashlights and cameras, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery. Their first stop was the local cemetery, where the gravestones seemed to loom like sentinels in the flickering moonlight. As they explored the crumbling headstones, they stumbled upon a grave that seemed out of place. The name etched into the stone was unfamiliar, and the date of death was cryptic. All Hallows Eve, 1850. The teens exchanged uneasy glances, sensing that they had stumbled upon something significant. Suddenly, the wind died down, and an unearthly silence fell over the cemetery. The teens froze, their hearts pounding in unison as they felt an unseen presence closing in around them. It was then that they saw it, a figure, shrouded in shadows, emerging from the darkness. The figure moved with an unnatural gait, its presence seeming to draw the very life force out of the air. The teens tried to run, but their feet felt heavy, as if rooted to the spot. The figure drew closer, its features slowly coming into focus. It was a woman, her face twisted into a macabre grin. Her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and her skin seemed to ripple and writhe like a living thing. The teens were paralyzed with fear, unable to move or speak, as the woman reached out a bony hand and touched the face of one of them. And then everything went black. The next morning, the townspeople awoke to find the teens missing, their abandoned flashlights and cameras scattered throughout the cemetery. The only clue was a single, cryptic message scrawled on a nearby headstone. The veil is thin on All Hallows Eve. As the people of Ravenswood searched desperately for their missing teenagers, they couldn't shake the feeling that something ancient and malevolent had been awakened on that fateful night, something that would haunt their dreams for years to come.